Hey guys, welcome to the arcade and thanks very much for joining me tonight. And I pose to you a question, and as you can see by one of the worst thumbnails that I've ever created for one of these shows, I'm asking the question, has the home arcade bubble burst? And what I mean by that is, are we seeing the end of what we thought was this bright and vibrant return to our nostalgia? And I think it's a valid question, because it's been on a lot of people's minds. Sorry, my headset seems to be all over the shop here. So yes, I think it's been on a lot of people's minds, and I think it is valid. Now, the reason I think that is, if we go back to sort of end of 2019, start of 2020, so pandemic hadn't hit yet, or it was kicking off, or however you want to see it. Arcade 1UP were starting to build momentum with these home arcades, and we had a number of really cool ones that they were bringing out. For example, the early ones that they were bringing out, obviously we had Pac-Man, which was like the first cabinet that they sort of created, but we had really cool ones that arcade enthusiasts really liked. We had Frogger, Rampage, Final Fight. These were synonymous with the arcade. Everybody remembers going to an arcade and seeing or playing Frogger. That was a fantastic little game for its time. I played it up in Base Arcade a few weeks ago. It's still a fun little game. Same with Rampage. Same with Final Fight. These were games that people really liked. I know the retailers didn't really buy into the ones like Final Fight and things like that, but the people who were buying it obviously did care about it. And we were seeing a lot of stuff coming out from Arcade 1UP that gamers really wanted. I know they have to try and pander to the retailers, because it's the retailers that are buying their products. They don't do an awful lot of direct sales, so if the retailers won't buy it, they don't make any money. So they kind of start to switch their point of view. But we saw really good stuff coming out. They had a relationship with Sega for a good while. We saw stuff coming out from there. Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder. It's a fantastic machine, and critiqued as probably one of the best machines that they've brought out. You've obviously got the Star Wars machine, again, one of the best machines they've brought out. On the other side of things, we had At Games now, they had their ALU that had been out for a little while. I want to say they were out before Arcade One Up came on the scene with Pac-Man. Now I'm not 100% sure on that, but they are quite old in the game. So the ALU was there. As we go into 2020, they started to release new products. So the ALU was a big, bulky thing. It took up a lot of room. It was actually quite expensive for the home arcade when you sort of look back there. Nowadays, it's actually, if you look at the arcade one-ups that are coming out, the ALU, you could probably look at it as quite a deal, which is another thing I'll get to in a little bit as well. You start to see more products coming on the... For goodness sake, what's going on out there? My camera's going off again. Fucking spiders. Yes, we started to see more products coming out from At Games. The Legends Gamer Pro, and then the Mini started to come out as well. And then, of course, they had the ALP, the big pinball machine, and that sold so well that they had to sell it, or had to at least ship it in waves. They couldn't keep it in stock long enough for it to go out. People were buying these things, and I think that maybe the pandemic and the lockdowns and things like that sort of helped people had more time at home, a little bit more disposable income, and so they wanted to build a game room, build something around the house, little projects to keep themselves busy, which is kind of where I started as well. Like, I discovered Arcade One Up when I saw a 4-player Turtles machine, and so that sort of drove me into the hobby. Now I have toyed with building arcades before. Spiders triggering the camera. Damn it, Miles. If it was Miles Morales, I'd be a bit more concerned just seeing him hanging around the camera. But no, it's just some big bugger that I thought I hit with a power hose the other day, but apparently I missed. Still going around, still triggering the motion sensor, so I might have to disable that in a little bit. We'll see how it all goes. Lost my train of thought. Bugger it! So, yes, we had a bit more disposable income. People were able to buy these things. Oh yes, I toyed with building sort of old arcade machines before. Like, I had built them out of old PCs to a point. I had sort of had a control panel, but I didn't put them into a proper case or anything like that. Hobby Hands, hey, how are you, man? So I'd done those little bits beforehand, and the casing was always the big problem. That was always the bit that was always going to cost the most money. You could build the control panel, you could get the MAME emulator and things like that. You could find the ROMs, an old PC that would run it. Sometimes back then it was harder to get things running, harder than it is now, I guess. But it was something that you had to do actively. You had to want to build it. You had to want to figure all these things out. When Arcade One Up, when At Games appeared, they made it so much more accessible to people who wanted to relive the arcade. And people jumped at it, and I think it was... Hold on 1 second. My first arcade build was a barcade. I do have a wood shop though. But you 3D print a lot of parts now. That's interesting. I suppose you could 3D print like the buttons and things like that. But I've always thought of arcade machines as wood. It's like, I know these kind of bits here plastic. But yeah, like what's the there's another type of arcade cabinet, Dinoform. It's like they're almost like vacuum form molds in the shape of an arcade cabinet, and then the same kind of stuff goes into it, the monitor, and it's why I don't like candy cabs. I don't think they look right. I just they're plasticky, and they give the impression to me that they're cheap, and I like my big wooden cabinets. That says to me arcade. Candy Cab, yeah. There's another one. Candy Cab is the standard ones, but there was proper sort of like Western style arcades, but they were made out of plastic. I almost want to say they're called Dinoform. Let me quick one. Is it Dynaform? Dynaform, that's what it is. Dyna form. So they're like let's see if I can find a decent picture of one. It's not gonna give me one. That's really annoying. Does not ring a bell. It'll bug me until I find it. But yes, there's the old candy cows, which I really don't like. I kind of don't like them because you have to sit down, where they made out of free. I can't remember the rest of that quote, but that video took me about 6 or 7 different takes because I kept forgetting the lines. So anyway, as we went on through like 2020, we started to see more things coming out from Arcade 1-Up in particular. They were just churning out new products. Like I said, we had some Sega ones. We had Golden Axe. We had a couple from Konami. We had the Simpsons fantastic cabinet. We obviously had the Turtles one. We saw the older ones like the Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. They evolved into what became the Legacy cabinet. So we went from cabinets that had 2 or 3 games on them to cabinets that had 12 games on them that were meant to be like the best of that particular publisher. So they went from being a Mortal Kombat machine to being a Midway machine, went from being a Pac-Man machine to being a Namco machine, and that was really cool. And then towards the end of the year, we saw iArcade launch their Kickstarter. Now iArcade was sort of the last one to enter the game, but they were doing it with such power behind them. Everyone said that if they're going to be making a classic arcade machine, they're overpowering. Like, what was the point? And then when they started to come out with sort of the modern games like Beach Buggy Racing and things like that, people took note. It's like, this isn't just going to be classic games, it's going to be modern games as well. And this thing can run it because it's overpowered. You don't need those big that massive chipset for things like Pac-Man, but you would if you wanted to do something like what was the one they came out with, Ripstorm, Riptide, the sort of the jet boat racing, which was really bloody cool. So everyone was so enthused around the end of 2020 because we were getting so much coming out. We were spoiled for choice. We really were. You could have went between the different companies. You could have built yourself a fantastic arcade. You could have even just picked up a couple of the multi-cades, and you would have had hundreds of games that you could play on. Like the ALU is just a fantastic example. And although I will say that the ALU has the most complicated and annoying user interface. Like, people complain about the iArcade UI. I I think it's fine compared to the ALU, and it just, the ALU and any of the AtGames products, you can't really just give to someone and go, oh, there's hundreds of games on that, pick one that you want. Because it's really difficult to pick one. It's really hard to navigate those menus. I really do think they need to overhaul that, and they've taken a few steps, but never really bothered with much. So again, at the end of 2020, we were getting so much choice. There was so many things that we could pick up and buy, and as time went on, we saw more coming out from iArcade and Arcade 1UP. AtGames kind of got left behind. They focused on getting the production of their pinball machine out. There was no real new games or anything like that coming out from them. They did make a few tweaks to the Legends Ultimate, their big stand-up. They didn't really announce it, which was a weird thing. They just kind of said, some would pick it up and go, this is a new little interface at the top, what's this? And then they did it again a few years later and included onboard storage. It's a weird way of doing things without really announcing that you're doing it, but to each their own and everything like that. So it was really cool to see iArcade bringing out all these games. It was really cool to see Arcade 1UP doing the same, but in cabinet form. Now, as time went on, iArcade's games that were coming out, they were starting to not slow down, but the quality of them, like we were starting to get the dregs, and we were so hoping that these were going to be big modern games that were going to be coming to the platform. And I know that you've got licensing issues and things like that. Arcade 1UP have all the funding behind them. In a bidding war, they can outbid anyone that comes to the table. So yes, I understand if iArcade get into a bidding war over a license with Arcade 1UP, chances are that's the way it's going to go. And that's kind of the rumour that's been circulating recently as to why we don't see iArcade with the Double Dragon artwork anymore. It's because they lost the license. Now, whether that's true or not, don't know. There has been rumours that people have seen a Double Dragon Arcade 1UP machine, but whether that would actually sell, again, that has to come down to the retailers. Do the retailers know that, Double Dragon would sell? They probably don't. Sorry. Woo! That was a big fucking moth. Get away. I've lost my train of thought. You bastard. Anyway, yeah, so as we started to see iArcade slowing down with the quality of their releases, we go back over to Arcade 1UP and we can see the quality of their games. It wavered, I would say. So we had kind of cool ones. We had things like Outrun, very cool, but it only had 3 games on it, which was disappointing considering we were starting to get used to ones with like 12 and things on it. Then we had Terminator, their first. Sorry, not their first. We had the first Light Gun game was Big Buck World. A nice little game, you know, making use of the Sinden light guns again. That's they definitely are the easiest plug and play solution to light guns. It was really good to see them integrate that, and again they did that with Terminator 2, a fantastic cabinet, one game on it, and was really expensive. So you kind of saw the quality of their cabinets starting to waver. We also saw the price just starting to creep up every time they brought out a cabinet. And this is where I'm saying that back then I picked up Turtles and I picked up Mortal Kombat, and both of them together would have been just under £600. So call that $700, just over. So when you looked at Games ALU, which was about $700, you kind of, well, is it 700 or 750? Over here it was about 850 quid, which has been about $910. But I know Sam's Club in America you could get the ALU quite cheap. So the ALU was probably on the kind of the expensive side, but you got a load of games with it, which was the big draw. Nowadays, you can still get the ALU for, over here anyway, about 850 quid. And you're talking, it's $699 for a Star Wars arcade 1-up, which has 3 games on it. So now you can see that the ALU is starting to become the better offer. But I digress. As we go through Arcade 1-up, their offerings have started to dry up. It's not that they've stopped putting out cabinets, they still are, but a lot of them are just rehashes. So we keep seeing, you know, a new version of Pac-Man. We keep seeing a new version of Mortal Kombat. We keep seeing a new version of Street Fighter. And yes, it's nice that the form factor's being updated. I just don't. I think for people who like collecting this machine, there's not enough now coming out. Like the last Arcade 1-up I bought was Marvel vs. Capcom, because I loved that. That was a massive announcement. When they got that out, I knew I had to get that one because I was so excited about it. And besides the Star Wars, which is a re-release, I can't think of something that they've announced that I was really enthused about. And mainly because there hasn't really been anything since Marvel vs. Capcom that has been new. Blitz around the same time was... I don't think Blitz had its own problems. It had a bit of controversy because of what they did to the game, but that was because they had to. Running out of IPs or running out of people who want to sell the IP. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't think they're running out of IPs. I mean, all you have to do is pull up the arcade like top 50. There's so many games in there that they haven't touched, and the weird thing is they have relationships with the publisher. So we know that they've done things with Sega, and there's so many Sega arcade games that they could bring out that just would have been that would be fantastic, or put it together like a Sega Legacy collection or something like that. Konami's the same. Now I know that a lot of the Konami stuff is dual license, so in the way you've got Simpsons is licensed by Konami, but it's also licensed by Fox. Turtles, it's licensed by Konami, but it's also licensed by Nickelodeon. So it's difficult for those ones, but there's so many Konami ones that aren't dual licensed. You could go with the Cowboys of Moo Moo Mesa, Mystic Warriors, bloody hell, there's bound to be other ones as well. Q*bert. Absolutely. I have no idea why they won't do a Q*bert cabinet. And John D's been on streams and things like that, and he says he doesn't think it will sell. How could Q*bert not sell at least as well as Pac-Man? I don't get that at all. If people are buying Pac-Man, people will buy Q*bert. The two kind of almost went hand in hand. It would definitely have sold. And yes, I'll go back to Hobby Hand's other comment there. So, can't imagine Blitz was popular in the UK. Yeah, and they pushed Blitz over here above things like Ridge Racer, or we never got The Simpsons. Imagine if they sent The Simpsons over here instead of Blitz. It would have sold out. I mean, that's made me think, why haven't they cashed in on the Wreck-It Ralph movie? In regards to Q*bert, yeah, absolutely. Q*bert was in there. Where you also saw Q*bert as part of, what was that Adam Sandler one? Pixels. He was like a main character in that for half the movie. Like, people know Q*bert. It's just a very strange one why they won't go with that IP. And like I touched on at the start, it's not us buying arcade one-up cabinets. It's the retailer. It's Best Buy. It's Walmart. It's, you know, the ones over in America are the ones that are saying that, yes, we'll take this, so build it. If Arcade 1-Up were, you know, selling direct, they could do what they want. We saw it with Track and Field. The Track and Field Arcade 1-Up cabinet exists, but the retailers wouldn't buy it. They didn't think it would sell, so it never went into full production. And I think that's probably where John D's getting that information from. He's gone out to whoever is in charge of the sales distributions in Walmart and Best Buy, and has asked about Q*bert, and they probably, you know, some 20-year-old has turned around and gone, I've never heard of it. And that's probably the reason, because he can't convince them to sell something or to buy something in that they don't believe in. So it has to be something that's just so well known, like Marvel versus Capcom. I'm positive all he had to say was Marvel, and they were jumping at that. Yes, it is an iconic game that we all know about, but it was years and years ago. But Marvel is a big selling point. Anything with Marvel on it at the moment will sell. So, yeah, to get back to that point, I don't think they're running out of IPs. I think they've got a load of IPs. I think it's getting harder yeah, it's getting harder to find the people who want to buy these cabinets. So that they will have a load of licenses that they just haven't used. Like I said, they have the relationship with Sega, although that's spotty. I'm not entirely sure what's happening there, because that Sonic cabinet has not made an appearance. If it was still on the books as far as I was aware, but it's nowhere to be seen anymore. Have they had setbacks with it? Possibly. The relationship with Sega was a bit of a weird one, because it was based on a per game license rather than, just an overall license to publish the games the same way that they have with Midway. So yes, we started to see rehashes and things like that. Something that they could as they rightly puts it, something that could print money. Now, a Sonic cabinet would print money, surely. It probably would. There would be a lot of people that would pick up the Sonic cabinet. The thing I have against the Sonic cabinet was there was no real Sonic arcade machine. Now there was a Sonic the Hedgehog type arcade machine that was released in Japan, used the trackball. I think its actual name was Sega Sonic Arcade. There also was the Megatech, so kind of like the similar Nintendo version, where it was pretty much a Mega Drive in there that was powering everything, and the arcade machine just used coins for time. I think at this point the UK retailers probably don't want any more cabs, and they have so much stock left. This is due to the ridiculous pricing here. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, if we take Marvel vs. Capcom and Star Wars, these are two limited releases. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was released over a year ago. No, coming up to a year ago, I think. And it's still in stock. How limited are we talking? That's, at the time, that probably was something to say, that get out there and get it now, because if you miss it, it's gone. But now you've been running around saying it's a limited release and it's still in stock. Well, surely that sends the message that it's not selling. You've hurt yourself doing that. And I think the Star Wars one's maybe the same. That we were told, there's only going to be 2,000 of these. Well, it's still in stock. So is it not selling? And that's a thing to other retailers. Like, maybe we won't, because no one's picking these up. Otherwise it would be out of stock by now, surely. So that's an excellent point as well, that over here the price has just gone like through the roof. I know that in the States, the Star Wars cabinet is $600, which if you convert it would be about 540 quid. However, over here it is 800 quid, which would be about $900 ish, $920. So that's the markup on the cabinets over here is a bit ridiculous. Sorry, wrong one. Sorry, I'll get to that one. Hobby Hands. I wonder if they're shipping them to the US and then to the UK. If so, they should set up direct from China. Now, that's an interesting one, because on the back of these machines. So, on the back of the machines, it tells you where it actually came from. It didn't come over from the US. It came direct from China. So it was built in China and shipped out to the UK from there. You can see it on the, like I say, it's on the back to say where it came through and how it got to where it was sold. It's probably some bloody customs thing that they had to go through. So it's not like it took a long route, you know, get to the Americas and then come back. It actually went from China, probably stuck on a boat and sent up round to us. So it is a really annoying thing. But yes, they do ship direct from China to the UK for distribution. So like we just get. I honestly think that the Star Wars one was greed. I thoroughly believe that it has been greed because it's a Star Wars cabinet. They knew the name was going to sell, and they've gone, we'll stick in our couple of £100 onto it and see what happens. And yes, people will have bought it because they made it out to be scarce. They said there's only going to be 2,000 in the EU, that the EU area, which I'm assuming will also cover UK as well. There's only going to be 2,000. Once they're gone, they're gone. And people have gone, I missed it the last time, I have to get it. £800, that's a lot of money, but I have to get it. And people will have bought it. And it's really annoying to see the prices go so high. That term limited release is not always marketing hype. Is most always marketing hype, sorry. That or your point, it isn't selling as well as they hoped. I do believe that it is the marketing hype because there's no need to keep hammering that point. All you had to do was say, here it is. Star Wars cabinet has been released. Get it now. There's no need to keep saying there's 2,000, there's only 2,000, when it's gone, it's gone. We know when it's gone because it happened before. So it's really irritating. And if they lied that it wasn't a limited release, then yes, I do think the point stands, that it shows that the cabinets aren't selling. Star Wars is in stock everywhere. In the US, Europe, we were lied to again. I'm not buying it unless it is at least 500 or below. Yeah, I'm sort of on the same line in the sand as you, 500. So as you rightly said, we did see it for 583 on Amazon. I did sort of fire that out into the Discord for anyone who was looking to get their hands on it. It was still too rich for me. There is a guy he's actually up in Castlereagh, so he's not too far from the work office. He is selling his for 450. It looks in decent condition as well, and I'm quite tempted by it. But I enjoy putting them together, and it's really daft. I really like getting them and building them. That's one of the things I really like about the arcade one-ups, where I can sit out here for like a couple of hours and just stick on. I think I stuck on Cobra Kai a couple of the last time, and just sat out here and built them up. It is a lot of fun. So, 450 to get the arcade one-up Star Wars, but then I lose the fun of building it.
That's true as well. Hobby Hands makes a good point. Sometimes contracts dictate how many can be made, and yes, that is true. Depending on the license, the IP seller will say, right, okay, we'll give you the license to make 5,000 physical versions of this. And I don't deny that that happens. I just think that with Marvel vs. Capcom and Star Wars, the two that they have really pushed to say limited, I don't think they are. I think we were being let. Sure, ask Castle Rayman to take it apart before you pick it up. I'd never get back together. I'm trying to remember where we got to in the main topic. But this is good. I like having these conversations. They always lead somewhere, and we've made some really valid points on them. But to get back, sort of the recent quality of releases. So we'll take a look at AtGames now. AtGames have started to wake up again. They're putting out new versions of both their ALU and the ALP. So they're 4K versions of the existing machines. I'm imagining the form factor won't change much. It's just going to be these 4K screens. For the pinball, yeah, absolutely, that's a brilliant idea. I think that's going to work so well for them. People will buy that. Over here, it's going to be really expensive. The markup for AtGames stuff is a bit ludicrous. It always has been. We're paying about 900 quid for the pinball table at the moment. What's that equate to? About 1,000, close to $1,100 for the pinball table. So I could honestly see, with the 4K version of the pinball machine, us getting it for $1,500, maybe. I think it's going to be around that price point. The ALU, on the other hand, I'm not sure a 4K version is warranted. I mean, you can bring your own games to it. I guess that's true. It's just that the games that are supplied on it, you're not going to get much benefit to playing them in 4K. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe a lot of people use the bring your own games a lot more than I think they do. Yeah, I know I have mine plugged with CoinOpX, but there's nothing in there that would require a 4K screen. But it is good to see that AtGames sort of starting to move forward again. They're putting out game packs. They're updating their ArcadeNet, which has been it's a service. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a service I would have paid for. Once I think I got 3 months free, I absolutely stopped because I saw no worth in it. I don't need the subscription to be able to access the leaderboards, which was the main bit of fun that I was having from the Gamer Pro. Now there's more games on the ArcadeNet. There's a lot more multiplayer on it as well. So it's like this. Something's woken a sleeping giant, and they're moving forward. iArcade, that's another hour. We could sit and go through what is possibly going wrong with them. Are they in as much trouble as people are making out? Is this like tax evasion, tax avoidance kind of thing? Is this the business going under? Do they owe X amount of money to investors? They've sold up their all this physical stock. They've sold their offices. It doesn't look good for them. Now, it could be that we're all just jumping ahead of the story and It may be completely legitimate that they're just wanting to move somewhere and wanted to get rid of all their physical stock so they didn't have to spend the money to move all that. They'll find somewhere and start up again, but really it does not look good at the moment. So for people who, invested with iArcade either on a business level or through the Kickstarter, I really hope this isn't the end for them, because I really don't know what's going to happen to all the people that bought those machines. This is kind of like if Valve went under. What happens to all the games you bought on Steam? Are they gone? I mean, I know that you download them locally, and that's the same with the iArcade, but are they going to continue to work, or does it have to check with a license server that maybe about to disappear? It's a worrying one for sure, and it's not a nice situation to be in. Jumping back over to Arcade 1-Up, the quality of the recent releases, it gives me concern again. So the most recent release was Fast and the Furious, which has again sparked absolute controversy. Like, they said it was going to be Fast and the Furious and Fast and the Furious Drift, when really it's not. Fast and the Furious isn't on that cabinet at all. It's the Fast and the Furious Drift that's been sliced to make it look like two games. And I know there's people out there that don't care because they're just playing the game and having a load of fun with it. That's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. That game has never sparked any nostalgia for me. It wasn't something that I would have I would have gone to in the arcade. If they go under, they should open source and unlock it. They certainly could. I would say that probably opens them up to a fair amount of legal action if they were to do something like that. At that stage, they may not care and may just go for it. It all depends on their licenses and things like that. I would say yes, absolutely go for something like that. If you've bought it, it's yours. But I wouldn't want to be in that situation at all. That's a terrible thing. So Fast and the Furious, people are really digging the game that are liking it. The people that hate it really, really hate it with a passion. Like I said, I have no nostalgia for that game, so I don't really. It was not on my radar of something that I wanted to pick up. What concerns me about that is that it's not the arcade version of the game. It's a port, and it's almost the same kind of quality that you would come to expect from a PlayStation. So like a PlayStation version of it, and they did that. And Eugene Jarvis did say it was because the chipset on the current Arcade 1-Up isn't powerful enough, so they had to make concessions. They had to pull things back in order to get it to run at 30 frames a second, not the original 60. So it's underperforming and a lower graphical output. So where this gives me concern is the Time Crisis machine. Now that's disappeared. Another one that's disappeared. What's the quality of Time Crisis going to be when that comes out? Now I know they have had a fair bit more success with Namco emulation, and they may be able to get it running, but I would be really worried about them bringing out a Time Crisis arcade machine and it running a PlayStation version of it. Now, just because of my own experience with trying to get Time Crisis running on a couple of DIY builds, it's a pain in the hoop. I cannot get Time Crisis running at all. Point Blank 2, fantastic. I can get them running dead easy. Not the Time Crisis can't get working. I can get Project Titan working, but I think that's, what's that, Dreamcast? Maybe. But yeah, the arcade version of Time Crisis I can't get working at all. I can get the PlayStation version working, but honestly, the graphical downgrade on that is absolutely crap. Ooh. Sidebar, you said earlier Sonic didn't really have a true arcade game. What about cabinets with ports? Just off the back of your porting cabinet comment. So there are, like, I mentioned that earlier, the Megatech and the Nintendo variant, which I just do my head in, it keeps escaping me the name of it. So these were like arcade machines with built in was either a Sega Mega Drive / Genesis or an NES, and there was actually a Super Nintendo version as well. Now I think about it, so they were kind of doing exactly what you're talking about. They're doing it's an arcade machine, but it's running console games, and I think a lot of console games would work really well on an arcade machine. Hell, I did a series of videos doing exactly showing exactly that. Like, there are games, Sonic Spinball, what was the other ones? There was Zool. Zool almost was an arcade machine. That would have been amazing. So yes, I'm perfectly fine with cabinets that are saying, here's an arcade cabinet that's running a collection of Mega Drive games that work brilliantly with arcade controls. What I don't like is them saying, here's the arcade version of something, and it's not. It's a port from something else. So they are still being a bit shady. But yes, I really want. I'm looking out for an old Mega Drive or an old Super Nintendo, because I want to build an arcade cabinet that will run Mega Drive games or Super Nintendo games, and in the center of the stand, I want to have like a display, almost like a display case, where the console sits on just like a little plinth, all lit up and everything like that, and then just have like the Mega Drive marquee up at the top. I think that would be really, really cool. I'd love to do something like that. Maybe I will at some stage. Yes, so getting back to Arcade 1-Up, their quality of releases is of late really does have me concerned. I know they're saying that they've got a 80s game that we haven't seen before that's going to be released very soon. I really don't know what that's going to be. If it's Q*bert, that's absolutely amazing. They've really pulled the wool over us. Like that. If it's Q*bert, that is really the epitome of the old switcheroo, and I would love it. But all the other stuff that they're bringing out is just going to be rehashes this year. There's going to be a new legacy variant for Atari. There's going to be one for Capcom. I think that's all we're going to see from them for a little while. And I think maybe it is that we're slowing down for some reason, whether it's they can't get the retailers to buy in anymore for whatever reason, has the relationship soured there with Best Buy, with Walmart? You know, is this where it's coming from? I do think that people aren't buying as much as they once were, and that's because of the price hike as well. Like, as I was saying, these two cabinets, you know, under 300 quid, and now you're talking about 700, 800 for one. It's definitely made people slow down and really consider what they want. So whereas before, if it was, you know, 300 quid, you would pick one up and then they would maybe pull out more towards the end of the year. You'd maybe get one at Christmas. Now you're talking about, I mean, for me, I'm looking at one a year, if that, but it has to be the right cabinet. And again, I'm not going to spend full whack on it. I didn't spend full whack on Marvel vs. Capcom. I didn't spend full whack on my my pinball table. I'm at the stage where the full retail price is just too much, that I'm waiting on sales. You've got to. It's just far too expensive. Arcade 1UP have really shot themselves in the foot with the crazy US discounts. People expect it every time now. Yeah, like, I think going back to Blitz, that was a really good point. Blitz was only out 2-3 months at the most before it got discounted, and it got discounted a fair bit, and then people started to pick it up. So when it went back to full price, you know, people didn't want it. And then there was the whole debacle with Killer Instinct. Like, they didn't know how to market those two cabinets, the Pro and the regular. They were discounting one and it was killing the sales of the other, and then they reported back that they didn't sell as well. It's like, you killed it yourself. Yes, exactly right. The Arcade 1UP sale, the direct sale, $150 for Killer Instinct. That was the 3/4 version. And then they complained that the Pro didn't sell well. Well, why would you spend $1,000 for the Pro when you could have picked up Killer Instinct for $150? It's like, you're making it so difficult for your sales teams. Like, and then of course they didn't have enough of the Killer Instincts to sell, so a lot of the orders got cancelled and things like that. But we don't see those kind of sales. It's really annoying that we're lucky if we get 50 quid off one of the cabinets. It's, yeah. Seeming like cabinets are going like house prices a ways back. Yeah, I don't know if they're just chancing their arm, really, you know, trying to put the price up as much as possible and get to a point where people just completely push back. I would say they're at that point. Because it is getting a bit daft. It'll always come down to, you know, vote with your wallet. If you think 800 quid for a cabinet is too expensive, don't buy it. They'll realise that, and then the prices will start coming down. That's kind of my hope with regards to Star Wars, that all these retailers still have so much stock. Maybe let's give it another month and they'll start trying to get rid of their stock because it's not moving. But then that kind of hurts, because then they maybe won't get in the next batch of cabinets. I don't know. It's almost like they had two marketing teams, one for regular and one for pro. Do you know what? I wouldn't put it past them. Like, it did seem like that they were really killing themselves off with that. And another thing, Killer Instinct would have sold so well in the UK. Rare was a UK company. If you had said that you were bringing out one of Rare's greatest fighting games back to the UK, people would have lost it. I would have picked that up, and I wasn't really a big Killer Instinct fan, but just for that nostalgia, just having that in my arcade, I would certainly have had jumped on that. Tron still has not dropped here that much. Yeah, Tron's a strange one. It was only... No, wait. Was Tron only direct? I think it was. A bit like Dragon's Lair. That's maybe where they kind of draw the lines, like the direct sales. Tron was supposed to be very limited. Like, whether that's still in production, I do not know. Dragon's Lair, if it's meant to be, sold and out of production, we still have it available in game. You can pick it up, and we got an actually decent deal on Dragon's Lair. I think Dragon's Lair is 420 something. It was actually a fair bit cheaper over here than it came out in America, which is really strange for us. Unfortunately, I can't get my hands on it because game don't ship over here, so I have no way of getting my hands on that cabinet. But going back to the original question, has the home arcade bubble burst? I think it's getting close to that point. I think something needs to happen fairly soon to prevent it. Now, whether this is going to be a change in the price structure, a revamp of their line, maybe re-releases of older cabinets in, and I'm going to say in a different form factor. What I kind of mean there is re-release stuff to other markets that didn't sell before. So bring over the Simpsons, a Golden Axe, things along those lines. I think opening up new markets for them is going to help spur things on, but they've got to get the pricing structure right. You cannot send over for example, if you were to send the Simpsons over to the UK and say, here it is, it's 700 quid, we would tear you apart because we know it's been on sale in the US in the last year for about $200. If you had the Dragon's Lair was 320 at Christmas. I missed that. Then they put it back to 420. Damn. I still wouldn't have been able to pick it up, but 320, that's a brilliant one for Dragon's Lair. And I know there's an audio sync issue there, but I've just realised my my wee add-on doesn't deal with emojis. Face with tears of joy. Well, fair enough. But yes, I do think we're at a point where if something doesn't happen soon, people are going to lose interest or look elsewhere for things. Like, certainly I've gone back to kind of DIY stuff again, so I'm looking at the Sinden for putting together a shooter cabinet. Mentioned earlier a couple of the console cabinet ideas. kind of reworking the back end of the arcade at the moment, so things are going to change back there to hopefully give me a bit more room for things. But yeah, it's. I think Tron and other big names stay high because they know people will pay it. That or the license costs for Tron are nuts. Yeah, I mean you're dealing with Disney. The House of Mouse does not play fair when it comes to their licenses. Tempted to make Andy play Guess the Emoji. Wouldn't really work because I can see it. I can see it here. It's just when it comes over here, it doesn't work. I don't know why. Just the wee widget just doesn't seem to be able to display it. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. I'm going to be paying close attention to what happens with iArcade and an Arcade 1-Up for the next little while. I really do hope something good comes out of iArcade. I hope they're not gone. I know I bugged them for months on end last year to try and get one shipped over to the UK, and for me it was just a no-go. I got hit with blockers every direction I tried. I really want them to come over to the UK. I want them to keep going from strength to strength. If this is the end for them, that's really, really sucky. And again, Arcade 1-Up, they need to do something. They need to spark the interest again. They need to readjust their pricing, look at the IPs that they're not releasing. There's so many collection cabinets they could put together. Like, I know you could put together a Konami collection quite easily, and it doesn't have to be Simpsons and Turtles and things like that. Konami have an abundance of games that they designed, and there's no real dual license with them. You could go down that route. Like if we got a Sunset Riders cabinet, bloody hell, I'd be all over it. But anyway, like I say, I will leave it there, but I think with regards to the answer, has the bubble burst? We're very close. And if things don't change... Oh no, I've lost it, hang on. Oh no! Oh, I was trying to remember the Christmas Carol. If these events remain unchanged, I see an empty chair where Arcade 1-Up used to sit. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember it at all. That's as good as you're going to get from me for tonight. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me tonight, guys, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye for now.